Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Mind of Reese. I'm so excited that you're here. Oh my gosh, today is a very special fucking episode. We have Jennifer Edge here. She is the owner of Literary Ink Convention, Tattoo Convention. Mostly women attended show, which is just happened like that. Not that she's asking for it, but it was the most amazing. You talk about Harry Potter, I had the best time. If you see my YouTube channel, you'll know what this show is all about. And she's also a tattoo shop owner, and she tells us how she's really created a team and really just built this beautiful business and how she continues to expand and grow, and it's just awesome. And she's so about collaboration, relationships, community, and you're not gonna wanna miss this episode. And before we get into this episode, I know that I am about to embark on Meditation 22. Now, what is Meditation 22? This is a 22-day challenge, meditation challenge, where I will be with you, teaching you and guiding you through meditations and why meditation is so important, not only for your spiritual body, but for your mind and for your physical body. So we are going to embark on this. There are huge prizes in this. I'm talking about first place prizes are brand new iPads. Then we're going down to like coaching sessions with me. Then we go down to smaller prices and smaller prizes. And all it is, $22. You're in, you have a challenge, 22 days worth of meditation. And that's pretty much it. You show up, you join the community, you get involved. You know, we're gonna be basing all of these things off of like who's really into it, who's been showing up the most, who's engaged the most, who's the most supportive, this is about creating a community of like-minded people, artists, creatives, healers, guides, for everyone who is really ready to take life up a notch, change it up, switch it up, pattern interrupt, do some meditating. If you've always wanted to try meditation and never couldn't keep up the momentum, this challenge is for you. And you get to see me every single day for about an hour, and we're going to be talking about, and I'll be guiding you through meditations, healings, why we do it, what's it for, really getting you to understand it so that you can hold the momentum after the 22 days and really transform your motherfucking life. So if you want in the show notes, you'll find all the things, all the information for it. Sign up, join today. Prizes are big. Community is awesome. Best place in the planet. I love my community. And yeah, can't wait to see you guys in there. We also have my one-on-ones are here and ready. I am so ready. Have some space for a couple of one-on-ones right now. I'm so excited to be guiding you through your business. If you're a tattoo artist who is ready to take their tattoo business to the next level, is looking for guidance on their social media platform, is looking to get into education, is looking to up a level not only strategically within their business, but energetically and emotionally, this is transformative work. We get into it. I make specific, unique plans for you and you alone, and that I hold you accountable to, and we celebrate in the wins so that you can up level faster than you ever thought possible. Because when we do it together, we go faster. So I love you. That is all. If you love this episode, please let me know. I would love to know your thoughts, comments, concerns. If there is anybody that you even think that you'd like me to talk to, please send that on my way. I would love to have conversations with more people. This is how we create community. This is what I love. I love learning, and these conversations are so beneficial to me, and I'm hoping they're beneficial for you. So if you love it, comment, repost it on the stories. I love you guys, and enjoy. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Mind of Reese. I'm so excited to introduce to you my favorite person, Jennifer Edge. She is a powerhouse, woman-owned convention owner, shop owner, Chattanooga, Tennessee. Last time I said Texas, and
definitely Tennessee.
And I want you to just share with everybody, how long you've been in this industry, what your mission is for this industry, and really like, what are you all about?
What am I all about? That is an intense question. We could be here just like, for an hour alone on that. I will say my mission in the world is to spread love. My wife's grandmother at 104 was still telling us to be nice. And that's a big thing for me. Like, we'd always come up. I met her when she was 92 and she's like, y'all be nice. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay. But I got to hear that for 12 years. I've been tattooing for 13 years. I, like most people, had kind of a really hard apprenticeship. I feel like a lot of that happens to a lot of us. We kind of get put in these situations. We're told to wash cars. We're told to go do this and do these deep seated jobs. And I'm kind of like, if you're an artist or you're a creative, that's not going to do nothing. I don't want to be yelled at. Please don't yell at me for setting this up wrong. Explain what I did wrong. Let me move forward. So putting that love, putting that be nice back into it, making the client experience what the tattoo is about, because it is. We are lucky enough to be able to color for a living. What we did in kindergarten, we do for a living. And to me, that's just a huge thing. We get paid really well to draw and to interact with people. One of my favorite stories to tell is I went to high school with this girl. I got to tattoo her the first year that I was tattooing, and then I tattooed her 18-year-old daughter 6 years later. There's a lot of engagement. We know our folks. We get to see people go through the roughest moments of their life. They come in and they're looking for a memorial tattoo for their wife, their husband, their mom, their grandmother. We're those little individual shrinks when people are like, you're like a bartender and a doctor mix because you're listening to all these stories. We are. We're also jack of all trades. Like, we do so much deep diving into, okay, well, I've got to find out about what this buzzard is and why it's that color. And then they're wanting these flowers with it. So some of the knowledge that tattoo artists have, if they had like a funky Jeopardy, we would do great.
I always say that, like, I am like a Snapple cap bottle, like a Snapple cap fact. Like, I just know the random Snapple
Yes.
because people come to us for like the most random but really intentional pieces, that the reasons why they want the thing, and I'm just like, wow, I know this flower and what this means and what this checker piece means, so I'm right there with you.
To me, it's definitely about the story. When it comes to client interaction, it's more, on our website, it's like this tattoo is about the client experience and not about the artist who's giving it. That's a really big thing for me. I was raised with my grandmother. She, I learned customer service at a younger age. If you take care of your clientele, they're going to take care of you. Mainline turns 10 August 13th this year. We had three owners to start, and I bought both of them out. So now Mainline is mine. That's been a whole new level. The last business partner who went out, one of my favorite people in the world, he's literally just down the street at a private studio, but he was looking for something like, I want to go back to being smaller. Whereas I'm like, I've got to grow. I want to have 9 people in here, or 8, probably like 8. I think that's also a big thing. I don't want to have a studio filled with just a ton of folks. Right now we're at 6 artists, and our mischief manager up front, who, it's like herding cats for her, poor thing. But having the right number of folks in your studio, having, everybody being that mix of where your values are at, like, the integrity of it all. That's huge for me. When I was in college, I heard about this, it was a paper that was written about the 5 people that you're around are going to influence who you are as a person. Like, you're the 5 people you spend the most time with. So be aware of those folks, because if you've got some oil and water with one of them, they're going to bring you down. And so I've always been very aware of who is in that circle, that inner circle of my fortress of solitude. Make sure you've got uplifting folks that are just there for you. And this past Literary Ink was, if y'all do hear my dog in the background, I'm sorry. Her name's Birdie, though, and she's adorable. This past Literary Ink, we came back after like 4 years. We were supposed to have our 3rd show in 2020, and 2 weeks before the show, COVID happened and it shut everything down. And so there was a lot of, can I do this again? Why am I doing this? Is anybody going to show up? Like, it was really like starting all over. And we have a whole new team. There was 2 people who had been there for the first and second show left in the shop. So they were the only 2 that had experienced it from the inner workings. And Sunday morning, March 5th, was my birthday. And this team was totally incredible. They made me bawl. They made me cry. I wept on Sunday morning. I walked in, we were all supposed to be getting this group photo. And I walk in and our videographer's in there, and there's a TV, and I'm like, oh my God. They have gotten footage of me being stupid. They're about to make fun of me and be like, happy birthday. But they actually had the Weasley twins do a cameo saying happy birthday to me. And I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. I do not believe in what the author who will not be named believes in. I'm very, I'm gay as can be. I'm all about loving this world, but there's a lot of, creators that sometimes get off the beaten path and you kind of have to separate certain things. But that was a big moment for me. Those books were huge in my life, and having the Weasley twins be like, happy birthday, and your team loves you and your wife loves you. And oh my gosh, there's a tattoo convention that's book themed. And I'm like, this is blowing my noodle. So I just sat there and cried. And then I stood up and made them cry. A happy cry, of course, but I was like, if y'all are making me cry, I'm going to do the same thing to you. So
I love you. You are like, what I love is that when we first met, you were very much of like, I choose the people that I'm very particular about, the people that I'm surrounded by, and
yes.
Even going in so much to where like each person that was like in this convention, it was very, I had never been to a convention where every single person in there was incredibly like-minded. Even though we could be so different, we vibrated on the same frequency. And that was on a different level for me as someone that's been to a lot of conventions over the years. And I'm sure you have as well. It's where it's just like, go, turn and burn, maybe make a couple of friends from your booth mates, and that's it. And this one was just so out of the box, so out of this world, so much fun, so different that it created a like almost a culture, a team, like a little off the beaten path culture for all the artists that ever felt like they fit in, like this is the place you could fit in, and I loved that. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And what you did for the artists by, giving them seminars, and the, after parties were like, they felt like, was it like a little hunt? Like I felt like I was going into different like places. It was like a scavenger hunt. And then even just
Thursday night. Gotcha.
That was so fun.
Okay.
That was so fun, bro. And like, even just like your idea of growth, but, and just even thinking about the team that you have now that just really, they did something for you, like the Weasley twins, they know you to your core, as well as them to your core. How would you describe, like, how would you, to everybody that's listening, like find team like that? How did you do that?
First off, don't tell anybody that I paid you to say those good things about me. Okay, so to answer your question, I'm not kidding y'all. Anyway, I trained half of them. I've been very blessed. Now, everybody starts talking about apprentices and you should never have a lot. And that was never my intention. I've had 4. But it hasn't been at the same time. It's been over time. I was not training 2 at the same time. It was always a no that turned into a yes. The first, Danny and I, he was Danny Siviter. He goes by Temple Painter on Instagram. Him and I were partners for forever. It seems like we learned a lot about this industry together. We learned a lot about business together. We grew up in this business together. We had talked about getting an apprentice, and we asked this one lady, her name was Morgan, and she's like, no, it scares me. I could never do that. And so Danny and I were like, okay, we don't want to train. Well, 2 weeks later, I get this message from a friend of mine, and he's like, hey, I have a friend of mine from Cuba. He's looking to tattoo. He's wanting somebody to train him. I was like, look, I'm not training anybody, but I will meet with him and tell him everything that I did to get my apprenticeship. Mm-hmm. Within 5 minutes of meeting this boy, I was like, damn it, you're the one. And not only that, I was like, now we just got to make sure Danny thinks it's his idea, which that's something I've always said, and we always giggle. But I started training Anil, as that was kind of a no that turned into a yes. And it was one of the best things I could have ever done for myself. I learned more from him than I could have ever learned from my mentor. Like, number one, he's from Cuba. When you go to school in Cuba, he went to school for art, but if you go there, you have to pay back your dues. So he was a professor. I did not know this when I started training him, because here I am like a kindergarten teacher going, this is how you use a tattoo machine. And it just worked out well. He never said anything. He was eager to learn. It was literally like 4 or 5 months into his apprenticeship that he said, yeah, I actually taught in Cuba for years as a professor. And I was like, excuse me, sorry, what? But he made it easy for me. And I think in turn, I've always respected every apprentice. Well, after him, we had our first show, Literary Inc., the first one. And this was me and Danny trying to decide what's next for our business. Let's do a convention. Everybody's doing conventions. I looked at him, I said, it shouldn't be much. It's probably only costs like $20,000. I was wrong. For those of you wanting to do a convention, get prepared to have a complete second business, a second business that takes up all of your quality time. It's a difficult thing to get into. And like I said, there's been I had so many fears and comparison journeys. And, leading up to the show, I started having these mini panic attacks, and I went to my shrink and I was like, I'm just having a hard time. And she's like, girl, you ordered this pizza. Get ready. You're about to eat it. And we had a couple of different discussions, and she brought this one thing up, and it was one of the best and most biggest blessings, because as soon as that appointment was over, I became like a calm cucumber. And she said, basically, when they clap for you and it doesn't change who you are as a person, when they boo you and it doesn't change who you are as a person, when shame and fame are the same, that's you being your authentic self. And she goes, have you done the best you can do? And I said, I've done everything. I've got a pre-lit party. It involves ice cream, and it involves axe throwing and make your own jewelry and all these things. And then we're doing free seminars because why not? And then we take extra care of our artists. I feel like there's a lot of vegans and gluten-free folks, and we're very in tune with that, because at conventions you don't ever have food. That's good for the artist. So we kind of got that spare room off to the side that nobody knows. So if y'all have heard about this, nobody knows about it. But just certain things, making sure that everyone who's working, whether you're a vendor, a tattoo artist, the talent that comes to it, an attendee, you're in our house for the weekend. It may not be Mainline's box, but it's Chattanooga Mainline's box. And, Chattanooga really puts this convention on. I had 5 of my friends take a week off of work, and they were the ones who were running the front counter. They were the ones who were up on stage. Mainline Tattoo artists, where Julia was up on stage doing the MC, which she did great. She dressed up in cosplay every day. She killed it. Seth was doing the podcast. Brittany, Anil, Morgan, everybody had their spot. One person was running this booth. We were up front running this booth. Our wives, our husbands were there with us. Katie, if you saw an Ask Katie shirt, hashtag Ask Katie, she's the Mainline manager. She's my right hand when it comes to a lot of things. There's so many things I wouldn't be able to accomplish without being like, Katie, what the heck do I need to do to get this? Okay, here's the website you need. Here's the phone number you need. Hey, you've got this phone. You've got this interview coming up with Reese today. Don't forget it. Bing, 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 bing. It's getting that there, which this team and her in particular, like all of these people, allow me to let my brain go a little bit further, because they've taken some of the weight off of me, so that I can be like, hey, I know that you're handling the MC part. Oh my gosh, Julie, I totally trust this. Theater major, in parts, this is awesome. Great. Got you covered. Just being able to know that they were the ones that were there. And at the end of this, on that Sunday, we were talking in a group message, either later that night or the next day, I can't even remember, but the group was just like, we were here, we were doing this. And I was like, y'all, you walked through fire with me. Like, after that shame and fame thing talk, I immediately calmed down. I knew I'd done the best that we could do. We had everything lined up, and it was just ready to experience it. And this was the first show, like the very first Literary Inc. was amazing. There was no expectations though. We didn't know what we were doing. And everybody who was coming in had no idea. Like, we've always been a book themed tattoo convention. We dealt heavily in a particular fandom, but now it's literally all things. Think of us as a library. There are so many amazing books out there. And not only that, everything's written. You technically can bring in any fandom. We're going to have a comic book section this year for like best comic tattoo. There's going to be individual 8, I think it's 8 a day, where it's instead of just tattoo of the day, still going to be at the end of the day. But before that, we're going to have 8 like best villain, best children's book. So you're going to see those things. And we're also going to engage our attendees and our tattoo wizards here soon on the Instagram account and be like, what do you want to see? Like, what categories do you want to see? And then it's going to be lined up ahead of time. With the show in particular, I know you've got some questions about the convention and how it runs. I'd only attended 3 before we did Literary Inc.
Really?
We were treated bad. And I'm not going to talk about who they are because it doesn't matter. it's one of those things where the artists just, they didn't care. And I was like, what? The artists bring in the people. And,
Mhm.
it just, that was kind of what started the ball rolling for me. And then I'm always into a good theme. So when we were talking about doing the convention, I was like, we should theme it. And that was a big turn of, well, what are we going to theme it? Well, let's do this. I mean, I'm a nerd. I love reading and
Mhm.
talking about the attendees and the tattoo wizards that come to the show. We creep. We're looking at your Instagram. If you're an asshat to a client, you're not going to come. We want to make sure this is about love. And this is like, if you bring hate, you'll be asked to be left. If you throw shade at us, if you throw hate at us, if you say somebody's done something, whatever, and you're just coming from a hateful place, I'm going to respond to it with love and just push it out of the way. I'm not going to come back with anger. I think a lot of people experience that to the point when you do show somebody love or someone grace, they don't even know what to do. They don't even know how to accept it. Because right now in this world, I keep saying we're in crazy times. We're still in crazy times. The political crap is awful. The gun crap is awful. Not caring about who your neighbor is, it's awful. And we've all been trained to do this. It's time to
Mhm.
take some of that back. Show love, care for somebody that's not in your immediate circle. It will change your world.
Oh, you are a powerhouse. I love your tribe mentality. You have this like very tribal mentality where you're very rooted in, community and family and relationships, and you care very, very much like above and beyond for the people who are in your circle. And this is the reason why all these people are able to like come out of the woodwork, husbands, wives, to come and volunteer their time so that they can, see this to fruition, see it as a success, because they already see the success in it before it even happens. We just get to experience it in real time. And that's what I just like, I think that's what my biggest, like, another thing was that this was the most women I've
Oh yeah,
ever.
we are 80%, 85% female and non-binary. We have a lot of trans folks who come, which I think is awesome. We want that acceptance there. We want you to know everyone's welcome unless you're an asshole. If you're an
Yes.
asshole, please don't come. If you're
Assholes
a
not
funny asshole,
allowed.
that's okay. Yeah, because I'm a funny asshole sometimes. But just treat people the way you want to be treated. The golden rule is a huge thing. People have forgotten about that. But a lot of our artists, we have some artists that are newer in tattooing, but they're just like the most fluffy people on the internet. How could we not have them at the show? We've been very blessed too. We have a lot of overseas people like you. You're traveling so far to Chattanooga, Tennessee. Everybody's like, where is that? I'm like, have you heard that song, Pardon Me Boys? Is that Chattanooga Choo Choo? Yeah, that's us. That's us.
I know that was another thing that I was like, you're here for the show, when I was speaking to Germans and Swedes and
Yes.
Australians. I mean, that's like
Yes.
really far, and then they're like, oh yeah, we love this show. Like,
Yeah.
we'll come back. And I'm like, I was so just moved by it. And I loved the fact that it was like all were welcome, really.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I love the tattoo conventions where they're like, powerhouse, or I wouldn't even say powerhouse, just more like, really great tattooers in the game. And it's like, yeah, great. Let's put the giants in there, or the goats or whatever. But it's like, those are nice. But I also think that's a very like, it's not one to open up to a lot of people. I feel like it's very like friends, like this clique kind of vibe. And I love it. Don't get me wrong, because I've been to those before too. So, but this was just very there was a lot, like, I think that the theme, even beyond books, it was just like acceptance and love, like you keep saying. And
Yes.
so I think that that's something that within this industry that we find it can be hard to come by. It's kind of hard to find community in this way. Like, I cried on the second day on Instagram talking about like after the seminars, and thank you for having me speak at one too. And it's
That
just
was
like,
amazing.
I
Yeah.
cried because I was like, these are my people. Like, I've
Mhm.
been working in this industry for 12 years. No wonder I've been wanting to be alone, because I haven't been able to find my conscious community yet. And now that I'm in a conscious community, it's like, I don't want to be alone, because I'm surrounded by like-minded people that want to see me grow and succeed. And this is where I like to teach this a lot. It's like, this is where you get to become the movement, and you've created that movement in this. Like, you've created a movement where people are just like, yeah, I'm gonna drink the Kool-Aid that Jen has to offer. Like I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, like, and same, I drank it too. And I was like, even on my YouTube, when I was, cause I like to rate conventions, I was all, this shit was beyond, like, it was on another level. Like,
I paid her for that too, y'all. No.
So I was just, I have to say, like, the community that you've created and how you are, it's not just client experience and client journey. It's like team experience and journey. It's like relationship experience and journey. It's like everybody in your life, you care how they are every step of the way, even, you know, and even though they've taken these things off of you, it's like a cyclical energetic exchange that you're offering. It's like, yes, they take this weight off of you, but you're thinking of them in the back end as well and offering them something as well. So I think that part to me, like, blows my mind, being of a mindset of like, it's just me. I've only got me. Nobody can help me, you know, and the fact that you're just so open to like, no, we need to ask for help. We should have help. And we move mountains, we go further together faster, you know, and that mentality with you, I just absolutely love. And I think honestly, it comes from like your grandmother, your nan, like how
Nanny was a rough one, but she got me through it. You don't ever need anybody to do anything. Go do it yourself. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. With that being said, like, you know, first off, where was the shift where you were like, I'm going to do a tattoo convention? Like, I don't think everybody wants to do tattoo conventions. That is not on my radar. It wasn't on my radar.
I think the thing was, well, like I said, we'd gone to a couple conventions and literally like 3. There was one convention in Nashville that I loved and it was really cool. And they brought in like horror themed movie friends. And it was just really awesome to experience that. It was very small. Nashville Horror and I think Horror Convention, Ben Dixon put it on. He came to Chattanooga with one and I'd almost won my first tattoo thing. And he was just like, he came back and he goes, keep doing what you're doing, kid. And that was a big deal. Well, then I went to Nashville for his convention the next time. Didn't win anything there. The third time I went, I took Emil with me. It was his first year tattooing, and we both won. I won tattoo of the day, and he won second place. And we were like, "Is this real?" When we were driving home, we both cried. It was a feeling of love. Like, you know, the thing is, my grandmother did raise me. I'm very family oriented. A lot of shops are different and not every shop is going to be the same. And you're asking how I found this team. A chunk of it was these no's that turned into yeses. Danny and I wanted to hire a second person. This was right after the first show. We had met Gracie. She goes by Gracie Tattoos on Instagram. And I went down to South Carolina to get tattooed by one of her friends, Betsy Wetz on Instagram. And I'm sitting there tattooing Gracie, and I'm listening to the fact that she's been trained by this guy for a year and he's not going to sign her off. And I'm sitting here going, can I see your art? What's going on? You want to move to Chattanooga? That was Danny and I had planned on hiring, but not an apprentice. And I messaged him. I said, hey, man, can we FaceTime tonight? And I got back, oh God, Jennifer, what did you do? And I said, nothing yet, but we need to FaceTime. And I need to see your face when I tell you what I'm wanting to do. That turned into an awesome thing. Right after her, COVID happened. She got signed off in either late December, early January. Forgive me on the dates, Gracie, if I got that wrong. But I had been doing the Literary Ink COVID, podcast, and this girl named Foofy Tattoo was like killing these paintings, and I kept buying them. And there was another woman who was just buying everything up too, and I was just like, oh my gosh. I messaged Danny and I said, hey man, take a look at this chick's profile. And he came back, he goes, what am I looking for? And I was like, I don't know, but my gut went off. Fast forward 6 months. I'm at Tattoo the Lou with Anil, and this girl comes up and she's bubbly and she's crazy. And I'm like, here, take a shirt. And she's like, oh, Literary Ink, I love you. And I was like, oh, we love you back. Cool. Okay, awesome. Well, fast forward another few months, I get this message because I'm buying, I guess I buy her artwork after I meet her there is what happens. And she's like, hey, I'm coming. Me and my husband, it's COVID. We're doing a cross-country road trip. They were engaged at the time. We're doing a cross-country road trip. I'm coming down that way. Do you have time to see me? And I was like, yeah. Well, we ended up having lunch. And he goes in to get something. I looked at her and I said, so you're here for a job? And she goes, how did you know? And I said, you just told me. And it started from there. And she goes, well, we've already met. And I kind of looked at her and I was like, we've already met. What do you mean? And she's like, well, I met you at Tattoo Lou. And I was like, that's why your fiance looks so familiar. Cause I kept looking at him cause he was over off to the side while it was a wild thing. And then it was just like, are you kidding me? And I told her, I said, look, I've already told the team I'm not hiring. We just signed Gracie off. I've told the team I'm not hiring. Go on this road trip. If you find a state that you like, I'm going to reach out to every tattoo wizard I know and be like, pick this girl up because her energy was off the cuff. Well, like 7 days after she's gone, my wife looks at me and she goes, you're thinking about that girl. I said, yeah. And she goes, what do you think? I said, I think it's not going away. And if I don't train her, I'm going to regret it. And those are no's that turn into yeses. So Julia was a no, but it's been one of my great yeses. Look at what she did at the show. Look at what she does in the shop. She is Foofy Tattoo. And then Julia just got signed off. This is one of my, once again, a no. So Julia's been signed off. It's like December 25th or something. And the girl that originally told me no, Morgan, who we said, Morgan, do you want a tattoo? And she's like, no, I'd never do that. Da, 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 da. The one that gave up her spot for Anil, I'm tattooing her. It's the second week of January. She's like, oh, awesome. And I was telling her, I'm like, yeah, can't wait. I've signed everybody off. I'm done. I'm not taking anybody on for 2 years. I need a break. 2 days later, I get a message. Girl, I know you said you need a break. I got a lot going on though in my life. Do you have time to do this? And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? And I call my wife and she's like, well, that makes sense. And I'm like, this is not the answer I thought you were going to give me. I called Danny because I still do that. I'm like, hey, man, I need some advice. He's like, what's going on? I said, Morgan asked me to apprentice her. And he goes, well, Jennifer, that sounds about right. And I said, what? The whole team said that. And I told Morgan, I said, look, I'm going to do things a little differently. For the first 2 months, don't tell anybody you're training. You've got a lot going on in your life. She's a mom of a disabled child. There's a lot of pieces that go into that. So not only am I training somebody, I got to be aware of like what happens if something happens and you need to stop the tattoo in the middle of the day, and family first, no matter what for me. But at the same time, like, looking at your business, how does all of this play into it? And she's like, okay. She comes in and like a month into it, I'm like, man, I can't believe I signed myself up to do this again. But then at like that 5th week, I was like, man, this is awesome. And for everybody who's about to write me, if they want an apprenticeship, I am off for 2 years. My team is not allowing me to train for 2 years. Don't even ask. Because it is an engaging thing. And I met one person at the show. It was at Literary Ink, and it was so wild. I walked up this girl and she was one of our vendors. I was like, how are you not tattooing? And she goes, well, I actually have thought about it, and I was approached by a person, but I saw how they treated apprentices, and I didn't want to leave a bad taste in my mouth and do it the wrong way. And I said, look, I'm not training for 2 years. I said, but your work is awesome. And she goes, well, I mean, how could you fill up somebody else's vessel if yours was empty? And I'm sitting here going, oh my God, have I found the next one? But I said, I'm not training for 2 years. Come talk to me in a year and a half. But those things, that's how you find, I mean, I know you work off your intuition, and I do very much so too. Like if my gut is just beating down that door, like, when I had to tell the team, okay, guys, I know I said I wasn't going to hire anybody, but I'm hiring this girl from Illinois, and we're going to train her. And she had been trained for 6 months. But her mentor was just awful to her. And her work was, I literally said, I said, you got hired for the paintings that I bought. I know what you're going to be. And I even told Danny, like, when I said, hey, remember that girl? I said, hey, what's this girl? And he's like, yeah. I said, my gut went off. It really did. We're hiring her. It was hard to tell the team to back out of what I'd said, but my no's that turn into yeses 9 times out of 10 literally is the path that I was always meant to go on. So every apprentice was a no that turned into a yes. You just got to fill it out. And then we've got 2 new people. This was also wild. I guess it's about a year and a half ago now. Seth Jordan, Art by Seth on Instagram, y'all, reached out, and he was like, hey, I'm thinking about moving to Chattanooga. I'm thinking about opening a shop there. Do you care if I come by? Do you care if I come guest spot? And I was like, yeah. Kind of radio silent for a minute. Of course, we did the whole creepy thing. Oh yeah, okay, he's good to his clients. Oh, great work. Okay, cool. Well, we weren't intending on hiring. I had a full staff. On a Monday, though, Gracie came to me and she goes, I'm really in love with it, with with this guy from New York. I'm going to be moving. It's going to be about 3 or 4 months. And I was like, I understand. I'd love to keep you, but I get it.
Mm.
The next day, Seth messages me and he's like, hey, girl, I don't really want to open up a shop anymore. Are y'all hiring? And I was like, and he came up, and when he came up, he said, my wife and my kid are with me. We're looking to see where we want to go. So if we meet, they're going to be with me. If that's a problem, then I'm not going to be able to meet you. And I was sitting here thinking, if your wife and child are that much of a priority for you, you may not know this, but you're hired. And after that meeting, that's exactly what happened. We had one of our friends leave the shop and went to a studio that, once again, a smaller studio. Everybody's got to find your fit. If you want a big studio, medium studio, a small studio, you got to find your fit. And sometimes just because it's there in the beginning and it's right in the beginning may not mean that it's right 8 years down the road, 5 years down the road. So you got to feel that. You got to talk about it. Communication is key. Don't just up and leave me. Like, let me know what's going on. I'm here to help you. Like, even if you're like, hey, I've been here for 4 years. I'm really happy. I want to leave. What do I need to do? Thanks for letting me know. Do I have a timeline to work with? So when we knew the last artist was leaving, I told the team, I was like, y'all, I'm pretty sure we're going to hire a tattoo wizard, but I'm going to go ahead and put up now, hey, come guest spot with us. This is a protected environment for me. This is protected because I love everybody that I work with. I love having, walking in and just tattooing. That's when Danny and I opened up Mainline. We want the artists to be able to just walk in and tattoo. So, Katie handles all the emails, all the schedules, the Tetris is up front, people coming in, that's all handled through up front. All you have to do is draw, come in and give your client an amazing experience. Well, I made this post and we had a few people that applied, and there was this one person that applied, and I was like, man, I remember talking to her on Instagram. I wasn't having that great of a weekend or something, or I was sick, and it was just like, hey, just checking in, da, da, da. And it made me notice her and her work. And I was like, okay, well, then I just messaged her, hey, girl, you want to hop on the phone? Let's talk for a minute. Well, we ended up getting on the phone and we talked for about an hour, and the engagement was just like, boop, 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 boop. Well, then the next few days, we're like on the phone talking. She's like, I have a zoo here. I have 4 dogs. I have goats. I have this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you really do have a zoo. And offered her the job. She is with us now. So I didn't know I was going to, it was literally 4 days after the last one left. Here comes the new one. And I'm like, this is so new for me, but it was just seamless. And she got there. We knew it was a tattoo wizard, which it was. She hadn't attended the show yet. And I told her, I was like, you can work the show, but none of us are allowed to win tattoos. I said, or you can work the show with us. And she came back and she goes, I'm all about my team. And I was just like, beautiful answer. Had she wanted to work the show, that would have been fine. But the fact that she's like, I'm with y'all, I've got this, I'm here for you now, was awesome. Well, she told me, it was so wild. I was like, she came to the show, she came to year 2 and got tattooed and told her husband, I want to be able to tattoo at this show. I'm going to do whatever I can. She went back home and she's just like, I want my tattoo work to come up. I want to be this. Cause she said, I missed getting in year 3, but when I got my letter for this time, she's like, I cried. And I was like, it's, you find your people, they find you. You just got to open up the beacon. And then I jokingly tell all my team, I'm like, I'm right 92% of the time, but when I'm wrong, that 8% is bad. And, you're going to make wrong decisions. And the thing with, asking about my team again, we've been talking about buying a building. They've known it since before the show. I'm looking for the right building. I'm looking for, do I need to build? Do I need to do this? They all know what's happening in my shop, but we're also a shop of this many. So it's a team spirit. It's very much so. I'm surrounded by people who are amazing. They are so talented in so many ways that I'm not. You put all of those voices together and you do get this upliftingness. I've got my wife, she's a woodworker, and we're putting King Arthur's round table in the new shop. So she's building a round table for us so that when we all sit down to have these meetings, we all have an equal piece, because that's what it's about. It's not Jennifer Ed Jones Mainline Tattoo. It's that this team puts forth amazing artistic services in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and we get to go in and have fun. We have fire pit nights once a month. We're about to do a survivor. The last episode's coming up next week, and we're having a night for it. Just, engaging who you're with. Not for everybody. Some people want to go home and be like a vampire mushroom, which is me 90% of the time. But, if you find the right people, actually, here you go. Find the people that make you feel like you're shining. If they make you feel good about yourself, then it is that wet weather spring you're talking earlier about. It's a constant fill up. A wet weather spring fills itself up, and it continues to do that. And I feel like that's the way it is with the folks that I get to work with. We all fill up each other's vessels.
Oh, oh my gosh. Oh, there is this, there is this level of, I can't even like think of the word, like commitment to you know what I think too, Jen, it's the fact that you completely are rooted in your values, that nothing can sway you from that. So it doesn't matter how long it takes for someone to find you. You're like a no until it's a yes. And that for me feels really fucking good, because the fact that you hold so tightly to that, that is a frequency to all the people that will either rise to that yes. And that's why you're like, okay, yes, you're in this team. I feel that you're meant to be here. And I absolutely love that you have such a equal like equality within your team, as far as like everything you're doing, they know all the things that is in your mind, what moving parts need to be had, and so that they're always well aware of what you're thinking of and what you're doing, and they're here to just kind of support you and, like you said, make you shine. And I just honestly think that was like mic drop for me, especially even me going into about to open up a bigger shop. I had just dissolved my old shop, and I let my team know really very like soon ahead of time that I'm like, it's time for you guys to fly. I helped them open up their own shops. The way they even knew each other was through the meeting in my own shop. And so it made me really happy that everything just kind of seamlessly was let go, but now I'm ready to create a new. And for me, it's like, I said to myself, I said to Kayla, she's my Kate.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's my Kate.
You gotta find your people that literally take care of you. Like, I don't know what I would do without Katie. I'd be like, oh gosh, no.
Katie. And I was like, I said to Kayla, I was like, Kayla, I will be in this 3,000, it's a little less than 3,000 square foot space by myself until the right people come in. I refuse. Yes. I will say no every time. And I don't care how long it takes. I will be fine in this big room of echoes, just me laughing at myself.
Look at my booth.
Until I find the right people that are meant to be in my space. And you just totally, completely solidified that for me. And knowing that when we do stay strong in our values, that it actually does happen much more seamlessly than when we try to chase the thing that we want. And I think that is such a beautiful lesson that you've just brought to this podcast for me, that I was like, wow, look how seamless it was, because she wasn't chasing after it. She was open to receiving it, but she was also a fucking no if it was not right. And so I love you, Jen. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. If there was anything as far as like inspirational you could leave people with, last thing, what would it be?
Find the folks that make you feel like you can do more. They're there. And a lot of the times doing that is literally you doing more for others. You do find the folks that make you feel the best. Your life changes. When you're not, just put that love in your heart. We all get angry. We all get mad. We all have these deep-seated things that we're working through. But at the end of the day, if you find people who kind of pull you out of that, it'll change your world. It'll change your heart.
Dad, I love you so much. Thank you so much for doing this with me today.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm so grateful for being on the show. Thanks for reaching out. Can't wait to have you back next time. We're doing it in July, and we've invited everybody, tattoo wizards, attendees, vendors. We're all going to Dollywood right after. It's just an hour and a half up the road. So we're going to go hang out with Dolly Parton. Yeah, it's just, why not? Keep spreading the love. Vacation together. So get ready for fun times.
Oh, thank you so much.